So the purpose of this episode is going to be figuring out what you actually want in life. And then it was just like win after win after win after win. I can't miss. They say money is an aggressive mistress. It will leave you and cheat on you in a heartbeat. Is it driven by ego or is it driven by purpose?
If you really take a second and think about it, what does it mean to have that?
Why do you think people struggle with that so much? The process it took me to get the goal was actually the best. Episode, I don't know what episode it is. It's an episode. Four. Maybe we'll put these in different orders. Maybe it's one, maybe it's three.
Hey,
we never know.
So
the purpose of this episode is going to be figuring out what you actually want in life, setting your goals, not because of ego, but because of purpose, and making your path the path of least resistance based off of that. So why don't you talk about why we want to do this? Because I mean, I've been getting a few DMs and people reaching out to me around that topic. So let's kind of go into that.
Yeah. And this is speaking for general,
Yeah.
Everybody's different, but I think a lot of times we get fixated on end goal and not why we want the end goal. Oh, if I just had X. Oh, if I just had Y. But if you really take a second and think about it, what does it mean to have that? Okay, I want to make X amount of dollars a year. Okay, but why? Okay, so I could be more comfortable. Well, what does more comfortable mean? Do you need more space? Do you need? Okay, you want the nicer car. Do you need the nicer car? I think it comes down to what do you value, and really taking a look internally and saying, okay, what are the deep down? Let's remove all the surface level stuff. What do I actually want, and what does that actually mean?
Yeah. Why do you think people struggle with that so much?
I would say just lack of clarity internally, maybe.
Yeah.
Social media shows all the highlights. Oh, if I was just, driving this car, look what he has, look what this person has. It's probably a lot of materialistic things. And maybe it's human nature a little bit, like wanting more, wanting something else. Like it's hard to be complacent. No, complacent isn't the right word. It's hard to be content with where you are. I think if you are constantly seeing all these other things that, I could have this,
I think that's like a new thing to our generation right now.
Yeah, totally.
Because there is a funny little sound bit I heard of the rapper The Game, and people are like, bro, when you're growing up, like, did you want to be like the biggest rapper in the area? And he's like, bro, I lived in Compton. Like, I didn't even go past my street because I would get shot. He's like, nowadays you guys have social media where you're always looking at what other people have. And it's almost like we get to look into other people's lives and be like, oh, he's my age. And we start to compare like, and he has that, right?
Yeah.
But then it's also the opposite. It's you look at somebody your age and then you're like, oh, look, I'm better. Like they don't have as much as I do, right? So comparison, high or low, is the enemy of peace, they say.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about clarity, because I think that's the number one reason. People don't ask enough questions on why they want something. So you'll ask them like, hey, what are your goals and dreams? And typically like very ambitious people, especially entrepreneurs, people that build businesses, they're doing that because they're visionaries. They have a vision for a better life. And so they really just need a little bit of vision. And online, we're given so much vision, sometimes not the best vision, right? It's like, oh, if that guy can do it, then I can do it, right? And that's the phases I talk about where it's the unconsciously incompetent, which means you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. But when you have a vision, right, ignorance is bliss. You're like, oh, dude, I'm gonna be a millionaire. Like I'm gonna start this business and I'm gonna be the best thing ever.
Right.
There's one question after that, why? Right? And so do you see when you look at somebody like that and your why is because, oh, that person made me feel insecure. I want what they want because I see how I think about them. I see like, oh, they're driving the car, and then you imagine yourself in it.
Right.
Oh man, like imagine what I would feel like, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like every single time you get your goal, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Because you to get your goal, you've actually changed as a person. And now you're usually wanting more by the time you get to that goal, right? I wish life was like you could snap your fingers. And, when I was, 14 years old, I was like, I want to be in my penthouse. And I could snap the fingers and be in the penthouse. Oh my God, I'd be through the roof. I'd be like, this is the best thing ever. But the steps it took me to get to the penthouse Was it fun for a few weeks? Yeah, like it was epic. I remember looking there and be like, I can't believe I got the goal. But I realized that the goal, that the process it took me to get the goal was actually the value. So it was the trophy. Like no one ever just looks at their trophy and thinks like, that thing is so beautiful.
This
That design, oh
thing.
man, that thing is perfect, right? They look at the trophy and it's a reminder of what it took to get the trophy, right? And so I think a lot of people make the mistake of why? Like, why do I want this? Is it driven by ego or is it driven by purpose, right? And I think you're actually one of the best people at this I've ever met. Where it's like I remember when we first hired you, I was like, Jake, what do you want? And you were very clear. Like I was actually trying to be like, dude, we can build a huge company. Like we can do all these different stuff. You're like, I just want to be with my kids. I just really want to just be at home. Like you don't have this unhealthy ambition where it's like me. I think in the beginning it was unhealthy. It was just like, dude, I will kill myself to get my goals. Like it would be, but then you look at it and you're like, that would have been the worst process ever. And so I think like when I look at other people, I always just keep asking why. And it's funny because they get into a situation where it's the first time they've ever thought about it.
Yeah.
You know,
they might not have an answer at a certain point.
Like, bro, I want to make $1 million. Why? Because then she's like, I'm tired of being poor. Okay. So you have $1 million. What are you going to do with it? Probably buy a Lamborghini. Why? Because I love the car, dude. Like, oh, I just can't wait to drive it. Okay. What happens when you're driving it? Then what? I started thinking and you started realizing it's like you want the richness, you want the Lamborghini because you want the people to look at you and be like, oh, look how cool you are. Right. Look how awesome you look. Oh, bro, you're the coolest guy ever. Right. And so I think about like, okay, when you have a goal that's expensive, a Lamborghini is a very expensive car. Nice houses is very expensive. Making $1 million is expensive on your time and your energy. Right. You have to look at the cost it takes to acquire that. And what needs to be sacrificed, right? And so if somebody is, no kids, no family, by themselves, and typically these are the people that actually win the most in business in terms of wealth, right, and riches, is they have nothing,
right?
And so they have time just to spend on the business and chase time and everything else, right? And then you have the people that have families and they have responsibilities. They're being pulled in different directions, which is usually in the middle is where they get frustrated because they're like, man, I want to spend my time being a great business person, but then I also want to be over here, be a great father. Well, you can't do both, right? Now you can do both if you balance it, if you actually think about your life and manufacture the whole thing. But when you're in business, you should be in business. When you're in a father, you should be in a father. Does that mean that you can mix that like what I do? It's like, I'll be in here and Megan knows when the door is closed, I am not here.
Right.
Meaning there's boundaries involved with it because it's almost as if I'm at a different office. Right. And so if the wife starts to think like, oh, well, Jared's in the office. Whenever I need him and the kids are going, I can just knock on his door. You need to actually think that I am at a different office. And so if it's an emergency, you would call me and say, you need to get home, which is more of a burden for me to get in my car, leave work and get home. Obviously, it's not a burden for me to open a door and walk in there, right? And so there has to be boundaries. And then you ask like, well, why would there be those boundaries? Because we know how much money that we need to make for us to live the lifestyle that we want to live. And what that means is we don't have to work, right? That doesn't mean making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. That means there's a threshold of like, okay, well, if we want to make multi-millions of dollars, what does that look like if we live in our lifestyle?
Cost
of that? Right. So then we started realizing we're like, at first we wanted the nice houses. We wanted the nice cars. I mean, we had a house in Arizona, a house in California. We had multiple cars. It was like a lifestyle leak was happening pretty aggressively, right? Our overhead was way higher than it is now. And so we started realizing like, is this stuff what is more important than our time? Because I had to spend more time in the business to be able to provide and make that money for us to be able to fill these things that we have that we're not even using. We have an apartment in Arizona. We had a house in Arizona too. We weren't even using it. We wanted still to vacation. And that was important to us. So then we're on vacation and we're paying 3 rents. And it's just like, it just didn't make any sense. Right. So we started thinking like, well, what do we actually care about the most? And that's actually a hard question. And so I framed it differently. I said, Megan, if you could look at our whole entire year what is the top memories that come to mind that were the best? You know what she wrote down? It was all trips, all vacations. So we're like, interesting. It wasn't, oh, Christmas in the penthouse.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
It wasn't
that one day.
Yeah, it wasn't driving the
house.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
It wasn't buying her Rolex. It wasn't any of that stuff. Right. It wasn't on the list. And so I was like, interesting. So the cost of the Rolex would have been 3 vacations, and everything was vacations. So we got to a point where we're just like, okay, that's what we got to start doing. So next year, what is the best thing for us to do? Well, let's take multiple vacations.
Yeah.
So let's try to do a vacation every single month. Right.
Yeah.
And then that was before kids too. And so it's like, okay, well, we can do that now with kids. We were talking about this morning, you know, it's sounds fun. And then sometimes you're in the situation, you're like, why do we even do this?
Right.
Like, you know? And so that's why I think life always kind of evolves. Yeah, I think that people need to ask more questions. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I feel that the question, the retrospective question that you asked, Megan, is a good way to think about it. Look at what you did the last year and what were the things that you remember the most, like what left the most impact on you. And it could be, you know, maybe that person did reach a material goal.
Yeah.
I always wanted this Rolex, for example. I wanted to buy myself this Rolex. Maybe it's not that they have the fancy watch so that they can show off, but maybe it was like, I told myself when I was 10 years old, I'd work hard enough to get this. And, you know, that they enjoy the journey of it. And the Rolex is the trophy of that. So I think, you know, it all comes down to what's your foundation and what is your purpose for it. Like if your purpose for a Lamborghini is because it's a representation of you being able to provide in abundance.
Yes.
Awesome. If it's because you want to look cool, which like if someone wants that, you know, to each their own.
Yeah.
But you really have to ask yourself the deep questions. What is the real purpose of what I want? And I like how you know, over the last year, what did you value the most?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like how you close that loop right there, because I want to make sure this is clear. What we're saying is like, everybody is different. Everybody is different. And so it's not a judgmental of like, oh, you shouldn't even want good things.
Right.
You shouldn't want to be wealthy. Like that's not at all. It's not what that is. The thing you said that was so important is I did, again, phases of life.
Yep.
You want different things at different phases.
Right.
What you just said about the first Rolex I ever bought. I remember when I was younger and I came from no money. And I remember there was this huge mansion on top of the hill in Yorba Linda. I remember just looking up there being like, how do those people own a mall? You know, like it was just, when I was growing up, if you had
the one with like the white pillars?
Yes. Yeah.
Like I feel like I can see it driving.
Yeah. In Cronin, you go to Cronin, so you can see all,
yeah.
So it's like, I remember just always looking up there because we were always in the you know, the where the poor people live, right? And everybody in the hills were the rich people in our heads.
Yeah.
If you had a 2-story house in my world, you were rich, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I remember just looking up there and being like, how? Like, I don't understand it, right? Like, I have no idea how they do that. And then I got to Orange Lutheran, which was obviously private school, very wealthy, a lot of rich people. And I started asking questions to dads and figuring out like what the recipe was to success and wealth. And at that moment, I remember thinking to myself, like, I will have a Rolex. And that was because, do you see how small I dreamed? Because I wasn't willing to be like, oh, I can get that house. To me, the way I was programmed, no way. But gosh, I want that Rolex. Yeah. And did I think that was possible either? No, because I remember thinking like, I'm going to buy a watch that was as much as my dad makes in a year. Like that still sounded like so far off. Right. And so I remember just thinking like one day. And I remember watching, you know, the documentary, The Secret on Netflix, which is more like new age now, you know, but it was about like, you know, believe, conceive, achieve. You know, it's more of like if you visualize it, you can get it. Right. Which is why you see, I don't know where it is, but that's why you see the thing I've always shown you, which is like where I made my mood board, you know, the visionary board, to be like, I'll get that one day. And I remember, it's so funny actually. I remember I got into real estate and I was making $690 per 2 weeks starting out. And I didn't have my license yet, so I was just being a runner for the real estate brokerage I was working for. And I remember I made my first check, and it was $2,000. And I was just like staring at it, dude. I was just like, oh, just the most money I've ever seen in my life, right? And then I made a few more money, and then I remember I had a total of like, you know, $12,000 saved. And I went to my jeweler, who was my next door neighbor for a long time, and he had a Rolex that was saved for me, a 1994 Rolex, because that was my birthday, and that's what I wanted, a date just. And he was like, hey, I'll give this to you for, it's an $8,000 watch, but I'll give it to you for 5,000, but it needs to be cash. And I'm like, $3,000 savings, like done. Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. So I remember that day, dude, I was so excited. And it was awesome. I remember I went to the bank and I pulled out $5,000 in cash. And then I started like being like, this is $50, $100 bills. So when I put those bills on the table, I was kind of just like, and mind you, it was 60% of everything I owned, right? But the goal was still important. And I put it down. And if you ask me, do you regret that? Because according to what I'm talking about right now, it's not the smartest thing, right? 60% of my net worth, and not even net worth, it was everything I had, right? So I guess it is my net worth. 60% of it, I was just like forking out for this little watch, right? And I remember I got it, dude, and I put it on my wrist. And that moment, it reminded me that I could do anything. And that lasted for a very long time. And that got me to then say, well, what if I could do bigger deals in real estate? What if I could do this, right? And so it gave me encouragement every single day. And so people would think like, that's a stupid investment. I disagree. Like I disagree. That moment actually gave me so much energy to then put myself into a bigger person's position. So again, there's some philosophies. I talk to some people and they say, I need the nice car because when times are tough, it reminds me why I'm doing it. And it's like, great, right? Like, okay, that actually is going to propel you forward. But if you're doing it out of ego, it doesn't give you this confidence. It's just not again, that's why the why is so important. So I ask people like, why do you have the car? And if they kind of like try to think of a good answer, you should think about it. When they tell me like, Jared, because when I'm having a bad day and I get into my Porsche and my Mercedes, my BMW, all my stress goes over. And then I'm like, you can't kill me. I'm going to keep going. Cool. Bam. Okay, that gives you energy, right? So again, everybody's different, but I think that the main thing is just like, get to the bottom. Try not to do things for other people. See how the Rolex was for me? It was for me to, now, of course it was, I would always do this in jobs, I would always do that. Also, I was 18, 19 at the time. And so these people didn't trust me. I remember this old picture of me, but bro, I still can't grow full facial hair, right? Same. Like I can only just do here and here, but I can't connect it, right? And I'm 32 years old and I'm 18 at the time. And bro, I remember being freshly shaved every time I got out of my car, and I had a Ford Ranger with the windows that rolled on like this. Remember the first real estate tour I pulled up to. I'm in an H&M suit, because I have no money. H&M suit. I'm trying to look all good though. I'm in a suit and tie. And I pull up and everybody was just like, how old are you? And just like judged me from the very beginning. And I'm pulling up in this crappy car, right? And then in this crappy suit, no watch, and freshly shaved. Like, how old are you? I'm like 18. They're like, then they're like, you're handling my real estate? So then I was like, okay, what kind of control? And so I would park my Ranger behind the warehouse and then I would walk. Because I'm like, okay, maybe the Ranger was the problem. Well, it wasn't. It was just, how old are you, right? Same thing happened. Then I'm like, well, maybe it's because I look too young, right? They kept asking me how old I am. So I try to grow this thing as patchy.
Little Sharpie.
Dude, as much as I could, dude. Grew it out. People stopped asking me how old I was. And then I remember my ex-girlfriend at the time, her dad was very materialistic, but taught me a lot. And he said, Jared, they're the first big check you get, you need to go buy yourself a good suit, because people look at the good suits and they look at good watches. And so he actually gave me, this was the very first watch he ever gave me. And it was hand-me-downs, but it was a Tag Heuer. Not my favorite looking watch, but just a beautiful, it's real, right? Tag Heuer is a good brand. And he said, here you go. This is yours, right? And that was when I was just like, wow, somebody believes in me. And I put that on my wrist, and bro, I had so much confidence now. Look at me. Like, I just gave me confidence from this little material thing. It gave me confidence, right? And so I'm out walking, and then I remember the first check, I call him and I'm like, I can get a suit now. I have like $1,000 saved up. I can get a suit. He's like, great. So we went and got a John Barbados suit. And then, he got me out there, and I remember I wore that suit every single day, right? Every single day I wore it. And then Saturdays I would, every other Saturday I would try to dry clean it if I had the money. And it gave me this confidence, which then I realized that it probably wasn't about the suit and the watch the whole time. It's probably about the confidence that I thought was the suit and the watch. Because now I walk around and I wear clothes that aren't very high level, and people have so much respect for me because of who I actually am. But that was the first step I needed for me to actually get to that level.
Yeah.
So all of it was just like a learning lesson. And so like people say like, oh, was it the watch? It's like, well, you give somebody that has no confidence a Rolex that they think they earned, right? Not just give it to them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now this was given to me, but I also was just trying so hard, and also like I understood what was it for, and they just have this confidence. And you see with somebody, because when somebody wants to try on my watches, I'll put their watch on them, and I see how quickly they want to give it back, because that means they're not confident at all. They don't think they deserve it, right? So I'm like, oh, nice, okay, here you go. So I don't want to break it. I don't want, you know, they say those kind of things, right? And so for me, it's like, if you could understand that if anything gives you energy and makes you better. Now, I think materialistic things are better when you don't have the family and don't have those things, because you got to have your priorities. I never think that you should, maybe sometimes you can gamble this, but I don't think you should ever gamble your family's, you know, life savings on buying a Rolex, 60% of it, right? If I'm not a family at that point, I'm like, there's no way I should do that. That's not smart at all, right? But it worked out for me. And so again, everybody has different goals. Some people can be watching this and be like, bro, I want a Lamborghini. Like that's my dream and I love the car. They know everything about it. They die for it. They've had it in their room. They've just, it's everything to them, right? Sure, go and chase it, but be prepared to realize that it's not what you think it is. It never really is, right? Sometimes it gives you energy for a little bit of time, but then I fast forward and I'm like, a sad story about that Rolex too that I'll mention, as I have I have a Rolex in my watch, but this is a different Rolex. I don't have that Rolex anymore. Because I was chasing money more and more and more, and I was making good money, and then I was spending it like stupidly. I was young, I was 21 years old, making some really good money. I was doing like Mastro's takeout, like just stupid things, bro, right? And I remember I got to the point where I had $5,000 in my bank account, and I was heavy into sports gambling at the time, like heavy. Like, I mean, like betting on Russian women's tennis. You know what I'm saying?
Russian women's tennis.
Literally, this is a true story. Like $1,000 per splits, like just throwing money out, right? And I had 5,000 left in my account, and I remember thinking to myself, I can't have 5,000. I need 10,000. So I put $5,000 on this one game. It was first inning bet, no home runs or no runs, right? First inning, no runs.
Okay.
2 outs, bottom of the first, guy goes yard. And I'm sitting there with my projector in my house. And I'm just like, I just lost $5,000, because that would have been $5,000. I would have got $10,000, right? So I'm zero now. I call my buddy. I say, hey, can I use your line of credit for yours? Right? He's like, yeah, sure. So I use his 5,000, right? And now I lost that, and I went down $5,000. I remember I called my mom for the first time, and I said, can you give me a loan for 3 days and I'll pay you back, right? I'll pay you back with interest. And she's like, how much do you need? I'm like, I need like 1,000, because I knew I couldn't get her to give me the full 5,000. Right. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I just need it back in 3 days. And again, my parents don't have much money. And bro, I got off that phone and I cried my eyes out. Cried my eyes out. It was so humiliating. I'm like, what have I become? Because I was moving so fast. It was one day. It was like, oh, I lost it. Okay, I can get it back. I was just trying to solve the issue right there. And so I said, enough's enough. And I took that watch down to the pawn shop, and I pawned it out, and I got 5,000 for it, which it was an $8,000 watch. So it was $3,000 off, because I just felt disgusted that I had this loan out to my mom and everything else. And so that watch is now gone. And so it's, again, the dream for the longest time. I used it correctly in the beginning, but then see how the dream of materialism just started to take over me completely. And then what happened? My dream became actually my worst nightmare. It led me to tears, right? And so that's why it's like, be careful.
It's a slippery slope.
Very slippery. Very, very slippery. And like, that's why for me, I look at money so much differently now. And I had to go through those situations to really know, because when you're young, bro, everybody says it. And I knew the stories, right? Like, you know, you're so young, you're going to lose it because you're ignorant, like you're blah, blah. But you have this confidence when you're younger. You're just like, bro, I can't miss. Like, these checks are going to be coming nonstop. You've never gone through ups and downs of market. You know, we were younger. We didn't remember really 2008. We didn't remember those types of things, right? We didn't feel it. And then when you get kicked in the mouth, you know, the first time, you feel it pretty good, but you really don't learn. You feel it, and then you get yourself back up.
Like, I'm good. Okay, yeah, that was hard, but like,
you learn a little bit. Back. Yeah, you maybe 10%, right? But you don't learn the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then when you keep getting kicked in the mouth, and this is probably the 5th time I got kicked in the mouth, but it was my final. Like, it was finally I was like, I'm done with, I never want to do this again.
Mhm.
When I started this company, Millennial Media Group, um, bro, I had $10,000 in my bank account. I had way more at the time. Like it was like I was used to having so much because I was doing really well in real estate. And I had 10,000. And I remember my old business partner came to me and said that we need to buy cameras, we need to buy lenses, we need to buy drone, we need to buy the software, everything else.
Mhm.
And it came out to like $12,000. So I actually I pulled some of the money that was in my IRA as well, drained that out, and bought all the equipment because I'm just like I don't have a job anymore. Like I was out of real estate. I was
Yeah.
going to move to Arizona and start real estate. That's a longer story, but like I was out of that industry, and so I was like I need to start this company and make some money. And so I bought all the equipment, and I didn't realize how expensive these cameras were. That's why it's
Mhm.
so funny when people are like, "You guys are so expensive." It's like you don't like you realize how much money is in the room right now.
Yeah.
Like I mean, literally in this room right now,
Right.
it's stupid how
Yeah.
much money
Yeah,
there is.
yeah.
Just for us to get this little podcast going, right? And so for me, it's like I took a gamble on my work ethic and myself, and it was the first time I looked at $100 bill. And I thought to myself, like, this is so much money. It was the
Mhm.
first time that I valued actually a dollar for the first time.
Mhm.
And there was one situation. I mean, there's so many situations I can go through, but the one that stands out to me, we were shooting with Kim Bauer, Artist Design Group. So a really big real estate developer. And she was one of my biggest clients at the time. And first like 3 years, bro, I was trending between zero to negative dollars up to 800 maybe, then back down to zero. It was just
Mhm.
this game. And again, that goes back to my financial sheet, right? Shameless plug.
Uh-huh.
Financial sheet's the best thing in the world because I've done it from high net worth to then not having any money, right? But I was always able to idle my money and know, like, I never went really below zero, but it was
Right.
always like 800 I was
Yeah.
always knew where money was. So that sheet works for everybody across the board because I vetted it and proved it. But I had $800 in my bank account, and Kim calls me and she goes, "Hey, I have a huge project. I want to send you over this hard drive, and I want you to upload all of it to your hard drive, and then I want you to edit all this footage." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Great." And so we upload it all to the hard drive, and then the hard drive just completely crashes. Our hard drive, and it has all of our other client stuff on it, crashes, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm panicking. I have no idea what to do. Like
Mhm.
I don't know hard drives. I don't know what's going on. So I just go online. I'm like, "How do you repair a hard drive?" And it's like, try these different things. Didn't
Mhm.
work. So then I am calling this company. They're like, "Yep, bring it down." They're in Lake Forest. Like, bring it down to us. We'll take a look at it. So I give it to them. They're like, "We think we can repair some of it. We're not guaranteed, but we're going to, it's going to be $850 to repair it.
Yeah.
But we're not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But you got to pay it."
Shot in the dark.
I remember just thinking to myself, I have $820 in my bank account right now, and no credit cards, no nothing, because I was never going credit. So I was just like, I only have $800. They're like, "We'll do 800." I'm like, cool. So I gave them 800. I remember looking at my account, dude, that day it was $20, and I knew I had expenses coming in too, and I was just like, oh my gosh, okay. They call me and they end up saving all of it, but all the files are mumble jumbled. So
Yeah.
none of them were there. So then I had to get all that back. And then I remember, then I get a call from one of our clients, and they're like, "Hey, it's literally within an hour. Hey, we have a real estate shoot. Can you come over and shoot this commercial real estate building with a drone?" I'm like, "Oh, yes," because drone
Yeah.
was like $500 at the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Cool. Boom, we're back up. Like, we're going to get that." I'm flying the drone, and I'm doing a pan shot around the warehouse. And I have my old assistant, shout out Evan, love Evan, but he was guiding me. He was watching, and he didn't tell me because we were in the call, so I couldn't see
Uh-huh.
it. He didn't tell me that there was barbed wire atop of the roof, and
Uh.
bam, drone goes down. Right. So we end up saving the drone. It doesn't work, but we saved the SIM card.
Okay.
I was able to get $500, but a drone was $1,200 at the time.
Yeah.
So I go to Mindy, who was the girl I was living with at the time, and I was like, "Is there any way you can give me like $700? This is all in like 24-hour window,
Yeah.
right?" She's like, "Yeah, but you have to pay me back with interest." And I'm like, I will." So I go get another drone, and then we get another drone shoot, and I'm doing 2 shoots to pay back the drone now that we broke from
Mhm.
there. So it was, dude, it was just like up and down, up and down, up and down. And so do you see how like God was like refining who I was, where it was like success, failure, success,
Mhm.
failure, versus in the beginning of my career, it was just like all success.
Right.
It was no expectations, and then it was just like win after win after win after win. And then it was just like, I can't miss. Okay, yeah, let's go spend money on stupid things.
Right.
Let's start to sports bet. Because
Right.
again, I think God allowed that to happen too. The first week I was sports betting, I came home from work from my real estate at 3:00 because it was like my favorite thing. I would come home with my best friend. We'd put on the projector. We'd play all the sports. We'd have our bets in. We'd be like, we had an Excel sheet. We were so nerdy about it. And bro, we turned like $1,000 into like 8-9 grand. And I'm like, I can do this for a living, dude. Like this is more money than I could ever make, right? And so it's because it was like the first few weeks were hitting, right? But if you're a gambler, you know, the wins and the losses, baby. More losses than not. Vegas wasn't built on winners, you know?
Right.
And so then it was just 3 weeks of drought to the point that our bookie had to reach out to my best friend and say, hey, bro, I think you should have a talk with Jared. By the way, the bookie is the guy that makes the money from us. So for him to call my friend and be like, you should have a conversation with him, I was just losing $5 grand every week consistently, like consistently. And it was just this. Do you see how like a young kid was just getting ahead of himself?
Right.
So that's why like I look at all these things and like there's no judgment whatsoever for people because like whatever you're doing, I've done, you know? That's why I think some people are like, you're silly for doing this, blah, blah. It's like, done it.
Yeah.
I understand the mindset. I understand the process, but really ask yourself why you're doing it. And if you ask yourself like, Jared, why are you doing gambling? Number one, it was exciting, bro. Oh, you get this feeling, this rush. That's the first thing. The next thing is just it feels like it's easy money. It is easy money, but it's easy losses as well. And so then all of a sudden you're so deep into it and it becomes a addiction, a habit. And next thing you know, your relationship with money is broken. And if you cheat on money, it'll cheat on you more, right? And so it's like I look at that, I'm like, wow. And again, all the stuff I'm talking about, notice how like none of it involved God.
Right.
It was all Jared. My idol was Baal. You know, my idol was all mammon. It was all just like idolatry of more. Like, and that's what I always see with people is when they become their own idol, and when money becomes their idol, it's they say money is an aggressive mistress. It will leave you and cheat on you in a heartbeat, right? If you don't pay attention to it. And it's like, okay, so should you pay attention to it? Should you only pay attention to it? Again, it will if it knows it has you by the balls, it will treat you worse too, right? It's a really disgusting mistress, and that's why it's like money. If that's your idol, it just takes everything. So I know a little rant there because that was just bringing back some memories. I don't really like to share, but like I think that's valuable for people to know that we're not just talking from the standpoint of like, oh, these guys, you know, they're just trying to give you financial advice. It's like, bro, you have no idea. Like I've been kicked in the mouth so many times, and I just really don't want people to go through it. And again, if Jared, when he was 18, was watching this podcast, he would probably be commenting like, you idiot.
Yeah.
You just don't know how to manage money.
Right.
Watch what I can do.
Right.
You know? So again, it's all time and place, and people can watch this and think what they will. And if you think aggressively towards it, that might just mean that you got to be like me and you got to touch the fire before you know it's hot. But hopefully there's somebody watching it being like, you know what, that sounds right. Maybe I should change my ways. Maybe I should invest my money. Because bro, the money I spent on gambling, if I put into any market at that time, real estate, stocks, anything, you're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, run me through the scenario. So, you know, younger sub 20-year-old Jared comes into $5 grand. You know, you explained where that would have gone. You come into an extra $5 grand now with the mentality that you have now. Like what do you see when you see that?
So that it's like you're voting with your dollars, how I see it, right? And so it's like, am I voting on my time, or am I voting on my pleasures? And so I think like what do I actually want this year is what I actually break down. I want to be able, one of my things is it's been a 5-year goal for us to qualify for world championships for Ironman, right? And so one of the goals was to be able to have the financial ability to pay to get you and your family out there, to pay to get my best friends out there, to have a house that I want, not just because like, oh, we're budgeting, right? Like I want to splurge. We want to fly first class. We want to fly business class out there too. We want to stay for a month, right? And so when I that's what I really wanted over everything, over the penthouse, over the cars, over all that, right? Because I decided what do I want the most this year? And it was that. It's like I spent 5 years to get this goal and I want to do it the way I want to do it, right?
Right.
Okay, but what does that mean though? How much is that trip going to cost? That trip's going to cost us like 40 grand. So then I look at that, I'm like, hey, well, if we get rid of the penthouse, that's 5 grand every single month. That means that's 60 grand a year. Okay, we get rid of the penthouse, bam, we have $20,000 left over.
Right.
Well, then we can take that $20,000 and start investing that early, and then we can get some returns. But do I want to pull those returns for me to pay for that? No. Okay, where else could we eat away at? My Jaguar, right? It was costing us like $850 a month. Okay, boom, right there. That's going to be about $10,000 a year that we're saving right there. What other things we bleed? So it started to be like, what is everything we're spending? And then how can I pay? Because a lot of people would just do the first part. Oh, let's get rid of the penthouse. We have the money now. Cool. Game's over.
Right.
It's like, no, what else is there? Right. What else could we get? So the first thing was the trip to Europe and make sure we do it the way we want to do it. Right. And not have to be like nickel and diming. Because when I went to Switzerland, for example, I was nickel and diming a little bit. I was like, gosh, this is getting more expensive than I thought. Like these the meals out there are expensive. Like everything I want to do is expensive, right? You go to the Ironman Village, like it's like all of a sudden next thing you know, we got a $2,000-$3,000 bill to get the merchandise there.
Yeah.
And so for World Championships, like, bro, I want to freaking be buying everything World Championship gear and not have to be like how much. Like so I like the blessing of one, not going to restaurants and getting food and not looking at the price. I don't like to, you'll see me, I never look at the price. I just sign it, right? Because we have the money to do that. Why do we have the money to do that? It's because have we made more money? No, we've actually lowered the bleed of things that we don't need anymore.
Right.
So you have the penthouse, you have the cars, you have business expenses. We leaned our business out aggressively where we're making more profit, but we're paying less people. So overhead's lower. I'm taking that excess money and not just saving it. I'm investing it. I mean, I showed you what we did a couple of weeks in the investment for like, the crypto and like turning 500 into what I showed you.
Right.
And so it's like all those things are like, okay, now we have excess money. And so if you think about it, you're like, well, the easiest way is to save that money. But then I know saving's not going to do anything. So let's save that money. No, let's actually invest that money in something. Now, could the investments go down? Yes. Okay, so if the investments go down, what else am I doing to make sure I can afford Europe and everything else? Now, when a perfect world happens, your investments go through the roof and you're saving the bleed.
Right.
You guarantee a win, right? But what if 2 of those things go wrong? What if the investments do nothing? Right. And you shouldn't pull them. You should keep them, right? So every investment I put into, I act like the money's gone. And then I look at my charts and almost like, that's why I say wire in, wire out.
Yeah.
People usually wait to the end of the month to invest because they're like, oh, I have excess. Right. Now I'll invest. Mine acts like it's a debt. Mine acts like it's the IRS coming towards me and saying, I'll put you in jail if you don't do it, right? Because then I actually look at the numbers because your brain's a weird thing, dude. When I look at my financial sheet and I saw there was a certain amount of money, I would just work to that level. But let's say like for round numbers, let's say I made 10 grand that month in profit, right? Now, if I look at 10 grand, I'd be like complacent a little bit. I'd be like, we're good. We're fine. We're done, right? But then I would invest 8,000 of the 10 grand. It'd become 2 grand. Now I'd take $1,000 and move it towards a savings account. And I move $1,000 towards the kid's savings account. Now I have 0. And all of a sudden it's like, we got to go. Right. We got to get going, right? And so it's there. Your brain plays tricks on yourself. So I'm almost like, instead of the world giving me something I have to do, because every single time you saw it with the clients that left us. You saw it with, I'm not going to mention their name because we still work with them, but you saw that situation. I got out of it.
Right.
So I thought to myself, well, if I manufacture that situation, I can get out of this pretty quickly.
Right.
But then I have the money in savings.
You're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, like I used to look at my total number of the financial sheet
as
my total number. So I would take savings, checking, and everything else. Now I just look at business checking. I act like my savings and my checking are all gone, right? And so when you look at that number, you're like, I'm just trying to add to that number as you're feeding the other stuff.
Right.
And so I don't look at my total net worth. I look at just what's in the checking account and how I'm moving the money.
Yeah.
So again, it's just like, it's such a better process because it's just like your time. If you are in a meeting and we say to ourselves, hey, Jake, you and I have only 5 minutes, we will get the job done, but it will be so efficient, right? But if we say like, oh no, bro, we can take up to an hour. We're going to take the hour. And if you look at the efficiency that actually happened, it's the same.
Versus if we had an hour, said, let's do this in 5 minutes.
We got to do this.
Now we have 55 minutes.
Do whatever you want with.
Extra.
And that's the same thing with money.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's being able to look at the money. And that's how people look at their account like, oh, I'm good. Right. But just like you said in the past episodes, it's like there's buffer involved with it. There's things that just come up that just crush you. And that was what I got sick of too, was like, you know, there was one time I think you were freshly with our company, and it was just us going up and down with our finances during COVID. And there was one month in December I remember very clearly because it was before Christmas, and it was just like so heartbreaking for me. Our clients just did not pay us. Like it was like 5 of the 7 clients just did not
Mm,
pay us. And I was in the call with them trying to be like, and I hate that. I hate asking for like
right.
my own money back. It was the worst for me personally. And I'm calling them. I'm trying to be nice. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, the check didn't come yet, blah, blah. And they just refused to pay us because they didn't have any money. And I was like, not going to, I was going to make sure my employees got paid. Like, that was my number one thing too, is like, take care of your team first.
Mhm.
I remember telling Megan, I'm like, we're not going to be able to do Christmas this year. There's going to be no gifts. And we're like 2 years in a relationship. And that's why I love Megan so much. It's like, she looked at me, she's like, great, cool. Let's just go to the beach.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter at all. And I'm just like, I'm devastated, right? And then we get one deal. It was a pretty significant deal. It was second in PCH.
Okay.
And so we got them, and I was like, cool. That was like a $2,000 check, right? And so we went from 0 to $2,000 in our account, and that was just awesome for us, right? Well, literally, I'm not even kidding. Literally, and Megan literally said, "You're the most unluckiest person I've ever met in my life," right? Because it was just like COVID, and it was up and downs. There was
Mhm.
so many things I won't get
Mhm.
into, but so many things. Literally after 2 hours, we got that check in the mail, and I took a picture of my phone and went into my account. Our accountant calls us and says, "Hey, you owe me $2,200 for taxes last year for the payment. That payment hasn't come yet." I'm like, "Where did you send that?" He's like, "To your old address." And I'm like, "How much is it?" He's like, 2,200. I'm outside on the phone. You remember Origin, the little like
Uh-huh.
patio thing? And I
Uh-huh.
just look at Megan, and she's just like, and I'm like, "Okay, look, I don't have the money right now, but can I do payments?" He's like, "You can split up in 3 payments, and I'll accept that." He's like, We've been working together for a long time." And I'm like, "Okay." And I hit up the phone, I just look at her, and I start crying. And she's like, "You're so unlucky. This is unbelievable." I was like, "It's gonna change. Like, it's gonna change." Um, and it didn't change for a while. But what
Mm,
God was doing was He was refining me to be able to understand the pain of not stewarding your money. I even get like choked up like thinking about that moment because it was so frustrating, bro. It's just like you're trying, you're trying, you're trying, you're trying, and it wasn't even like it'd be one thing if it was your fault,
right.
right? And that's when it gets into like the poor me kind of thing, right? Like it wasn't my fault, right? When you're in that business situation, who cares about the poor me?
Right.
You have people to take care of. Like you have no time for that. So it's
Right.
almost just worse because the poor me is almost like you got people to coddle you and be like, "It's
Right.
okay, honey," blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. When you got those real issues, you're just like, "I gotta keep going."
Yeah.
Right? And it's the reason why this morning you explained to me that you didn't show up to a shoot, which you never do. And you're like, "Do you remember that?" And I'm like, "I don't remember
Early in
that
the
at
career.
all." Right? I
Yeah.
should have remembered that, right? Dude, we were going through so much stress and different things that like as something as big as that wasn't even close to what I was
Right.
going through in the whole entire situation. So
Right.
again, you hear all these stories and they're supposed to get people to realize that like I've done it and there's a better way. And
Right.
to ask yourself why is the most important thing. Like you said, to wrap this whole thing is clarity, right? Do
Mhm.
you have clarity on why you want it? If you don't, it will teach you a lesson. And it always does. There's never a person that just keeps on getting lucky, keeps on getting lucky. It's a matter of time. It's a house built on sand.
Mm.
You can build it and it keeps building, but the more you build, the heavier the weight gets on the foundation, and then it will eventually just collapse. And
Mhm.
so that's why I think like financial literacy and understanding your finances is the most important part. And that's why I'm so passionate about it because
Right.
you're looking at somebody that not only came from all those problems I talked about, I came from a house that financial literacy wasn't in the house at all.
Right.
And I saw my mom and dad fighting over finances. And I remember them screaming at each other and the instability
Yeah.
and all the things that affected me without knowing when I was older. Like me being younger, it affected me when I was older, not
Mhm.
knowing that, right? And then told you a story of ex-girlfriend's dad and his or her mom committing suicide because of financials. So it's real for me, and that's why for me it's like, gosh, I don't care what people think about this stuff. I just want to get them to think for themselves, and just challenge their way of thinking of like,
Right.
do I really am I doing what he's saying?
Right.
And if you are, just be prepared.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you will learn a lesson. And maybe sometimes you're like again, you're like me. You might need to have to learn the lesson
Yeah.
for you to feel it so deeply. Um, but the good news is if you do change your mindset and become financially literate, it's never too late. I
Yeah.
see people all the time. They're like, I'm in so much debt. There's no way to get out of it. You hear the stories all the time. It's discipline.
Yep.
It might take you longer, but you can always get out of it. I think that's the most important thing. So,
Yeah.
I got a meeting in 1 minute, so we're gonna wrap this podcast. If you guys enjoy, you have any last little thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is making sure that you spend the time asking yourself the hard questions, get to the root of what your foundation is, what your why is. And then the next step is clarity on your financials. Like the longer you push it off, the deeper you could go. So the
I love
best thing
that.
is to know what you want.
I love it. Leave us comments. Let us know if you guys took any value from this. We love you guys. We'll see you next episode.